Hey, what's up, Geekscapists? Welcome to our brand new Geekscape podcast. I'm Jonathan London, your host. If this is your first Geekscape, well, strap yourselves in for some pop culture talk. Movies, video games, comic books. What else we got here? We got some TV. If y'all are looking for a little bit of thoughts on Falcon and the Winter Soldier, just wrapped up on Disney Plus, that new MCU show. Go back in the feed right now if you're listening to this on the podcast feed, and you can hear Ian Kerner and I dissecting all 6 episodes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You're probably like, what are the Thunderbolts? Who are the Dark Avengers? What is all this stuff that might be in the future of the MCU that's hinted at in Falcon and the Winter Soldier? What are all these pieces? How does it all connect? You might be freaking out right now, being like, wait, y'all are going deeper than what I thought of when I watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yep, that's the way it works. Those Marvel specials, those discussion specials with Ian are some of the mainstays of Geekscape. I love doing them. I learn so much whenever I do those episodes with Geekscape. So I learned so much when I do those episodes with Ian. They're definitely worth your time, especially if you're a fan of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I thought it was awesome. So we won't be talking about it too much in this episode. I have a feeling we're going to be talking a little bit about that new movie that came out, Mortal Kombat. Yep. I know we're going to be talking about it because I've invited some friends to talk about it with me. That's what Geekscape's all about, is your friends and you discussing some geek stuff. We've been doing it for 15 years, and this episode is not going to be any different. Why would we start being different now? All right? We got here. We're geeks because we're different. That's how we got in this place. There's some comments already on the chat. So if you are using like Facebook or YouTube or Twitch and you're watching this live, throw up some comments. We got some friends joining the show. My good friend, Leo Severino. I met him on Clubhouse. He's a filmmaker. He'll be on the show later. Josh Jackson from Geekscape's own Geekscape Games. This dude is one of my favorite parts of Geekscape Games. It's another podcast we offer here in Geekscape. And I love having him on here because we're talking about Mortal Kombat. It's based on a video game. Didn't you know? You thought it was based on my life? No, it's based on a video game. And of course, we got my good friend, Katie Elsesser.
Hello!
She's my co-host, and she's right here on the Geekscape.
I am.
Katie, what's going on?
Oh, it's been a week. It's Tuesday, Lemon? What is this?
Or today is Tuesday. Yeah. I have to check myself sometimes. I'm like, wait, you carry the 1 and subtract by Wednesday. Yeah, it's Tuesday.
The thing that I'm really worried about is that, like, when we get back to normal society and everything, that we're actually expected to know what day it is. And I am so lost from day to day what day it is. And I'm like, I don't even have the excuse of quarantine anymore. Like, fully vaccinated. Like, I'm ready to roll. And I don't know what day it is.
Yeah, as if, like, my public norms weren't already completely unacceptable. I actually felt like, no offense, like, you know, I lost an aunt during COVID. Like, I know Mark lost his father during COVID. Like, COVID took a lot of things, but being like away from society also allowed me to be like my best self because I don't maybe belong in society. So
it's so funny because like we're vaccinated now, and so Mark wanted to go eat out last night, and I was like, yeah. Or we could order in.
Yeah, we can continue to be hermits. I have been going to movies. The movies are only 25% full here in LA. At least they keep them at 25% capacity. So yeah, Heidi and I went to see Nobody with Bob Odenkirk. It was fucking awesome.
We rented. We did the direct to TV, but. That was amazing. I was actually kind of shocked by that one.
That one was a lot of fun. And then this past weekend, in preparation for the Oscars, we went to see Promising Young Woman, and that movie is beat for beat phenomenal. That is her first film. I thought everybody involved in that movie was awesome. Is it my favorite movie of the year? I don't know. Between like, I saw like Sound of Metal, Nomadland. Like, this has been such an incredible year for movies. It's a shame that we watched them all on our TVs.
I know, yeah, right. In our own living rooms, just like eating our own popcorn and doing whatever.
Our popcorn is not as good as theater popcorn. And I know that because every time I've gone to the theater to watch a movie, I've been to 5 movies since I've been fully vaccinated because I miss them so much. I immediately make myself sick on theater popcorn. That's part of the experience.
Do you like when you make your own homemade popcorn, do you do the like melted butter on top? Because it just feels like it shrivels all. I try to make it like movie theater experience, like, and get like heated up butter or whatever. It just shrivels the popcorn. Yeah. It's just the worst experience.
This is what I do. Listen, if you want the legitimate movie theater experience, this is how I do it at home. Okay. First off, I have my big TV. Okay. So that helps.
Yeah, that helps.
And Heidi's next to me, so that helps, because usually when I go to see a movie, Heidi's next to me. First thing I do, all right, is I take a bunch of shit and I hide it in the couch about a week earlier, right? Like stain it, spill a bunch of soda on it, like really get it nice and gross, so that a week later it feels like I'm actually sitting in a theater. Next thing I do is I turn the brightness up on my phone, okay? And this is what I do. I take the brightness on my phone and I actually place it like in front between me and the TV right there. And then the other thing I do is I leave a computer on with a podcast in the other room to get that sense that somebody's talking in the theater. That way I have somebody talking in the theater, some assholes on their phone, and the seats are dingy. And that usually gives me a better sense. At least that's how I survived the pandemic. I was like, I really need the theater experience. That's how I did it. And
you put some linoleum down on the floor on top of the carpet or something like that, so that you can get that little like soda sticky. Like you gotta get that,
on the
like,
kind of movie I'm watching. If you catch my drift, not all theaters are on the up and up.
What does that mean?
Sometimes I go to theaters that are not acceptable for the straight and narrow. Right? These are adult. Sometimes I watch a movie in the confines of my home during the pandemic in a trench coat.
Oh, okay, so you're watching Skid Flicks.
I'm kidding. I'm
Amazing.
Kidding, Katie. But I think that if you are still in the pandemic and you want to, pretend that you're at the movie theaters, like make your room as trashed out as possible.
It's good to know. This is a really good how-to. It's how to make your own home into a dumpy, dingy dollar theater.
Yep.
That makes sense. Like maybe I'll set up like a computer off to the side that has like an arcade game on it, and then like put a bunch of like.
Oh, I take scissors and I like stab the couch cushions. I listen. It's Times Square, circa 1978, or nothing, as far as I'm concerned. I want mine to look like a dingy 1975 porn theater, and that's where I watch my movies.
That's
clear. True cinema. That is true cinema, Katie. I don't do no AMC Rumble seats. Are you out of your mind? No, I don't got money for that. That's not how I go see movies.
ArcLight's not around anymore. We don't need that fancy stuff. We don't
dollar
need
theater right here. I do dollar theater, and I make my living room look like a dollar theater.
I have to admit, there are some really good dollar theaters in LA. No? What? You're shaking your head.
I don't really go to dollar theaters.
They're so much fun. They're the movies that you don't really want to see, but you'd rather see it for $1.
No, that's what MoviePass was about. MoviePass was now you can. Yeah, MoviePass to me was now you can see all those movies The Rock is in. Now you can see no offense, Dwayne. Like Dwayne, no offense, but like Skyscraper. What was the one where Rampage? Like.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, San Andreas. Like
in terms of like video game movies, Rampage, not that bad.
Not that bad. It's kind of tight. It had a yellow. It had like So MoviePass was my ability to see some Rock movies. Not to say that Fast 9. I know he's not in it. Fast 9. I'll be there, and I'll probably be there with my good friend and Geekscape Games regular Josh Jackson, who's on the show right here, because we introduced video game movies, and we're talking about a video game movie today. Josh, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. Excited to be back on. It feels like it's been a while.
It has been a while, but you've been on Geekscape Games, so I feel like I've been listening to you talk about video games and all that stuff, and I love it. But talking about video games, we got one more person. This person is a newbie to Geekscape, but when I met him on the Clubhouse, I was like, oh, I feel like I know this dude like a brother of mine. He's the brother that, if it was a horror movie, he'd be living in a basket case in the closet and like maybe be like a little mutant or something, or he'd be like my Quato, right? Like he'd be a little growth that like you like cut off and then like hide or something. But he's still a brother to me. All right. And here he is right there. Leo, how are you? I love that face, Leo. Leo, you know this is also a podcast, so some of your visual jokes will not work for the podcast audience, but
They should be on Facebook watching this then.
we appreciate it. Matt Kelly is backing us up. Matt Kelly, who runs the Geekscape Network and is a host of Horror Movie Night, he says, "Man, watching Skyscraper with you and Derek was legendary." Yep, that's what those movies are all about. So we got Leo here, we got Josh here. Y'all are two video game aficionados. I know Katie's big on video games. To me, if we want to talk about Mortal Kombat wasn't something that I really cared about, and beyond just being complete like hilarious sensationalism. Like I just remember, I think in arcades, this is what I remember first. I remember Pit Fighter showing up, and Pit Fighter had the same kind of live action actors acting in a fighting scene in like a fighting game, and I was like, holy crap, this is the future of video games right here, that they have live actors in a video game. And Pit Fighter, if y'all remember Pit Fighter, was that jam. Street Fighter 2 obviously changed the entire landscape of games, not just fighting games, but I mean, I remember that thing showing up in an arcade, and a week after that thing showed up in an arcade, Street Fighter 2 changed the whole culture of arcades. It made them popular again. It took people away from the consoles, and now you had Mortal Kombat, which kind of came on out of the influence of that and combined the live action actors with it. And it wasn't long before we had those movies in the 90s. We got this new movie. I kind of want to ask Katie, Leo, and Josh what their experiences are with Mortal Kombat, because for me, I'm just not a Mortal Kombat kid. I mainly get my Mortal Kombat from listening to Josh on Geekscape Games.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys go first. Yeah.
Katie, are you a Mortal Kombat? I just know that I wasn't drawn to it because most of my life I've been fighting in underground tournaments, so it was just,
you're part of a fight club. Sure.
Yeah, no, okay, Brad Pitt. Mm-hmm.
I'll talk fuck it. I'll talk about Fight Club. What are they gonna do? Beat me up? It's the same thing they would have done when I show up. So
first rule.
Go open your door.
I'm gonna get my ass beat either way.
I honestly would love to hear Josh's opinion about this. I will say that my own my love of Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter and all of those kinds of games mostly comes from the arcade, from the experience of being in there, and kind of going to a point where it was like, it's not just about like male, female, or whatever. It's just about gamer and like going ham on a character and just having a lot of fun. And also my second date with Mark, we played Mortal Kombat against each other, and it was a lot of fun, and I kicked his ass. I don't remember what character I played. I honestly can't remember. Maybe Sub-Zero. Maybe, I don't know. That's usually what I go for. But Josh, I would love to hear your opinion about all this.
And Katie, Sub-Zero is like your main on that?
It is, unless somebody picks it, like you want to like mix it up a little bit. Yeah, Sub-Zero, because he's got the fucking ice and everything, and like I love Sub-Zero. He's so cool. Get over here. Anyway, Josh, I would love to hear your opinion.
Yeah. No, I've been a huge fan of Mortal Kombat pretty much since it came out. And Jonathan, how you were mentioning how it all kind of started with Street Fighter, that was my foot into like fighting games. And when Mortal Kombat came out, well, I did play Pit Fighter 2 a little bit, but when Mortal Kombat came out, it was just like, it just stood out so much because obviously like the gore and the blood, there was nothing out there like that at the time when it first came out. So I remember it was either like at a Las Vegas casino or there's like the local arcade, and my mom saw it and was like, that's terrible, and would try to like kind of pull me away from it. But like she trusted me maybe a little bit too much. So I just kept playing it for as often as I can get away with it. And at that point, you could just find me at any laundromat, donut shop, or whichever place would have arcades.
7-Eleven.
Back in the day. Yeah, 7-Elevens. I remember there was a donut shop a couple blocks from me that got Mortal Kombat 2 before anybody did. And like every day I'd just be asking my dad, hey, like after school, let's go straight to the donut shop, and just sitting there for like an hour trying to figure out how to beat Shao Kahn until he drained all my money, and my dad yelled at me for dumping $5 into the show.
I was a Genesis kid, so I definitely felt some sense of pride when the Mortal Kombat, when it was going to the Super Nintendo and the Genesis. The Genesis was the one you wanted because that was the one that had the blood, and in the Super Nintendo it had green blood. So you'd be like, aha, you didn't get the real Mortal Kombat. Not that I played it because I was a Sonic kid, and I was like, well, I like platformers and saving animals. When you get your ass beat in middle school every day, you don't want to be playing no Mortal Kombat. It's like I just watched my X-Men comic get ripped in half from like my face being plastered into a locker. Why do I want to play Mortal Kombat? I have enough violence in my life. Leo, what about you, dude? Like, you were pretty hyped for this movie.
Oh yeah, man. It was I was so hyped I rented a theater.
You did this past weekend.
Really?
Yeah, he got a bunch of friends together to rent a theater, and he was like, "Don't worry, guys, this movie's going to be great."
I was promoting it like if I was part of the marketing. Like,
yeah.
It was bad. It was bad. So
congratulations, Warner.
thank you.
Yeah. How did that
Because I'm
pan
Warner
out?
now.
Leo runs a Latinx diversity group on Facebook that I'm a member of, and I can't even tell that it's a Latinx diversity group because half the shit he posts in there are like Mortal Kombat for like 2 weeks, and I was like, dude, this isn't. What is this? You're putting the movement back like
Listen, it was
15 years.
It was bad. But let me tell you my relationship with Mortal Kombat when it first started. Yes, I was one of those geeks that would go into arcades and 7-Eleven and all that good stuff. I was the type that actually I would do chores to collect coins. And I would go with my little brother with a sock full of coins. I know you guys remember those.
Yeah, but that wasn't a weapon.
I was just gonna say, did you beat your brother?
After if he would have beat me in Mortal Kombat, I would beat him with that. It's 2 for 1. 2 for 1 special. But man, I remember as young, literally when it was first coming out, and they came out with the first brutal commercial that they had to go to court and all that stuff.
Yeah,
it was it was amazing. And I also remember the first Mortal Kombat, which after
the Paul Anderson movie.
No, I'm talking about the first game.
Okay, got it.
Had like 5 characters. It was Liu Kang, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Johnny Cage, Sonya, and I forgot which one. If it was Shao Kahn or
was it Kano?
Kano was there too. Kano was there, but they had I don't know if it was Shang Tsung or Quan Chi. One of those. But it was literally like 6 characters. And now you see like the big plethora of characters and all that good stuff. So I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody, before you go watch this movie, definitely go on YouTube and make sure you educate yourself, right? I was that confident. And I'll stop there. That's another thing I can tell you is this. Me and my brother was such a big fan that he would always be Sub-Zero and I would always be Scorpion, that he would shower with freezing cold water and I would shower with hot water when we was kids.
Wait.
That's how big of a fan we were.
You physically scalded yourself just to be closer to your character in a video game?
I'm attached, bro. When I'm attached like that description that you said of me being your brother, but you have to cut me off exactly like that.
No. I'm not blaming you. When I got into the Donkey Kong, I was running around in public with a barrel throwing it at shit. But like, I don't know if I did.
Popping into any cart you could find.
He's climbing girders again. Somebody go get Jonathan down.
Is that
there.
normal? Why is he carrying that woman on his shoulder?
This guy is somebody's gonna have to trank him. I could end it up like that girl in the zoo that got shot. And that would have been bad. We've actually had a lot of Mortal Kombat on Geekscape, but for not being a Mortal Kombat person, we've had like Casper Van Dien, who played I think he played Johnny in the when that whole series came out from Machinima. We had the director on. I think Brian T, who was in it, was on the show. That's where we became friends. And then Casper Van Dien played Johnny, and Johnny Cage, and like we've been friends ever since. Like I met him at an event for it, and now it's like we have like game nights at Casper's place. And I forget that we met when he was in freaking Mortal Kombat from Machinima.
Oh no!
That series was really good. They did a really good job of that.
Amazing with Michael J. White. Oh, bro, what?
Mm-hmm. That was a solid series.
Let me know when we talk about Mortal Kombat, because I just let me know.
Okay, this is what Mortal Kombat's all about. We're all going to talk
just,
about Mortal
just
Kombat
in
on this
case like
episode.
anybody is like a little bit off on the history or like just anything, I have to recommend High Score on Netflix. It's a really great documentary series made by females, which are freaking amazing. They cover some of this stuff. It's a fantastic series. I hope that they do more, like exponentially more, because they only had like 4 or 6 episodes. But if you need to catch up on the history or anything like that, definitely watch High Score on Netflix.
Yeah, I definitely binge watched that, the whole thing. And then they also have a movie version, which will be another episode. But it's called Movies That Made You. So High Score was amazing. Like literally, and as I'm watching every episode, I was like brought back to my memories as soon as I was playing every single game. Every single game they mentioned, I played it. It was crazy.
I love that they did an episode on Richard Garriott, Lord British, who was like one of my heroes growing up in Austin. I was like, that's the guy who like was a founder of Origin and made Ultima. And they spent a whole time talking about him and RPGs. And they talked about like the creators of King's Quest. And as Katie says, that High Score series is awesome. And
really
some of the episodes aren't necessarily like turning over stones of well-known stuff. Sometimes they get into the weeds a little bit. And I thought that was always huge too. This Mortal Kombat movie, I wasn't a fan really of the Paul Anderson movies. I thought they were fine, but this one, I'll admit, I was kind of looking forward to this one just with like the level of lunacy of seeing this stuff in streaming. Like, I thought Kong vs. Godzilla was hilarious. It wasn't necessarily like the greatest movie, but I thought it was fun in that how silly and over the top it was. And I was kind of looking forward to a similar film like this for Friday night. I knew I wanted to watch Mortal Kombat. I knew I wanted to have some silliness. Was it too much or not enough? Like, what do y'all think about this one when you think about what we just watched over the weekend?
I don't know if anybody else want to go. For me, it was not enough. Not enough at all. But go ahead, guys. You guys can talk.
No, I just felt like it had a few good fight scenes here and there, but there were too few and far between. And like 75% of the movie was like exposition on stuff that we never saw. So it's just, I don't know. I was really looking forward to it too. I, listened to all the interviews and the marketing and everything, was really excited going in. And overall, I just wasn't happy with it. I thought, for what you can say about the 90s ones, I thought the first 90s one was better.
They were amazing. I was like, I was actually, but keep going.
What was your opinion, Katie? Like you said, why were the 90s ones so amazing? I think that first one was the one people liked, and then by the time you got to Annihilation, like people weren't into it, right?
It was kind of meh. Yeah. No, I mean, like the thing about Mortal Kombat is the gore, and like we did get that. We got parts of that. Here, the honest truth of this, it's been a tough week of adulting and all that nonsense. So I definitely fell asleep 3 times during this movie. It's not necessarily to say it's the movie's fault. It's more my workload. But I will say that like there were points where I was just like, I get what's going on. I'm okay if I just knock off. And I did. And that's the unfortunate part. But of what I saw, I loved, it might have been I woke up at one point, but I loved when somebody like reached in, grabbed somebody's heart and like punched it through their back. And I was like, this is what Mortal Kombat was about. Like those brutal fatalities, like that was the thing that made it so insane. And like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're showing this. I can't believe they're doing these kind of insane fatalities. It definitely kind of waned after a minute.
I think the opening is actually pretty good, and the opening almost got Heidi to watch the movie, and that was like my trick. I was like, I want to try to see if Heidi will watch this. Like, let's see how far Heidi gets on this thing. So I was really invested in the movie as far as like the level of ridiculousness that this movie was. So I thought the opening scene was actually really good. The establishment of this kind of ancient blood feud between like Sub-Zero and Scorpion, or whatever their different sects are from. One of them's from like the other world, one of them's from our world. That whole like mythology stuff like that, like it's paper thin, and I didn't really need it to be that dense, but I thought it was fun. And there's enough craftsmanship in that first scene that I thought it was actually really good. When things start getting to modern day Earth, I feel like you get that slowdown, and Heidi left the room about 30 minutes towards the ending, and I really it wasn't fun anymore when she was no longer suffering through the movie. I was like, why am I still watching this? Like, she's not commenting on how bad it is. But that being said, by that point, I'd seen Jax get his arms frozen and ripped off, which I was super down with, and I get to see him have awesome lines. I get to see. I actually think the Sonya Blade Kano fight is actually pretty well done because it goes through several stages, and I thought that was great. And the ending's hilarious. But seeing them fight in a bathroom, go through a window, fight outside, fight inside, I thought that was actually one of the better fights. And ultimately, having some of the classic fatalities was huge. Scorpion's fatality, that was deserved and that was earned because his relationship with the hell that he'd been in for years.
Yeah.
But obviously, the one that I love the most is when Bird Lady gets cut in half by the spinning hat.
It was pretty cool.
I was a little disappointed that when Jax didn't kill the person he was fighting, that we didn't see him fight and fall into the pits of spikes.
So
you're literally fighting over the pit of fight. You're fighting over the pits of the pit of spikes from the game. Have them fall out of the pit of spikes.
It's like the thing. It's like the nostalgia, and I understand.
Yeah. Oh my god. Sorry. I'm just.
That's one of the issues with the movie, though. You're calling her Bird Lady and the guy Jack Spot. I'm probably the only person I know who didn't hate Mortal Kombat 4. But even I was both of them are characters that were only in Mortal Kombat 4 that everyone hated so much that they never came back. And there's no guarantee of a second. Right? Yeah, and there's no guarantee of a second movie, and those are the characters you decide to put into it.
Movie,
I'd have been pissed.
Listen. It was a tease. What I can say is this: if you watch the teaser for Mortal Kombat, you watch the whole movie. That's the way I see it, right? Because the most interesting part of the movie was Mortal Kombat and Sub-Zero. And Scorpion and guys.
Scorpion, yeah.
So,
we had this tournament that we talked about that we didn't actually get into, and
but that's the thing. They did get into it, but that's the thing. The fan, the fanboy of us being fans, we know what the tournament is. But they thought that they did the tournament because Cole told Raiden how to get the tournament started. Hey, Raiden, you can teleport people to different places? And Raiden's looking at him yeah, I can. Bro, you just did that to him when he was talking with his wife. He did it with one of his ancestors as a baby.
In
the very beginning.
Raiden should know how to teleport people.
That's my point. So why is Cole telling this guy how he can use his power? He came up with the whole idea of the tournament. What?
Yeah, and Cole just got his Cole was somebody who didn't even have a power until he discovered his Fabergé egg power.
Exactly. And because of what you're saying too, Jonathan, check this out. Storytelling, right? Before he got zapped back to his family when he was defeated and felt like he's never going to get his thing, he told Raiden verbatim, looked at him in his white eyes and said, "I'd rather die fighting for my family." He can't get his thing, and he's already running away. Oh, I'll just go to my family. Dude, you said you'd rather die. Just keep training until you die, if that's the case. And he goes back to his family crying with his tails between his legs. What? It just makes no sense. Why are you going to tell Raiden that you'd rather die, teach me everything, and then when he feels like he's never going to get these powers, he's zapped right to his family, and then comes back and say, "Hey, Raiden, you can teleport people, right? Bro, you just witnessed it. He got you back." I just don't understand. It was I don't know.
I feel like we really should talk about how bad of a character Raiden is in this movie. It's the thing that was this is early in the movie too, and one of the biggest tip-offs that this thing was going downhill quick was when I think the bad guys are all having their evil council meeting or whatever, and they're like,
it's a board meeting.
If we kill them, they're like, if we kill the Earth Warriors, that'll be cheating, and we can't let Raiden know that we're cheating. And then they proceed to spend the rest of the movie doing that right in Raiden's house, and he never cares or does anything about it until the very end, where Leo is talking about.
That's funny.
When they get themselves strapped up in that temple with the protective barrier, you realize that movie is basically turning into a super powered, kung fu version of Home Alone. And the bad guys are just breaking into this temple to kill everybody, and they're defending it. And I was like, okay, I'll watch this. Ultimately, As a commentary on Japanese and Chinese historical relations and political relations, how did you think that the movie was? Or as a commentary on Chinese annexation of Taiwan, what did y'all think about the subtlety of that topic in the film?
I think that I
What?
think they spent 5 minutes telling us that Sub-Zero and Scorpion hated each other for some reason, and then never really went back to it.
Yeah,
Right?
that-
Right?
Bro, I 100%
Yeah.
agree with that. And then this is my question. Let me ask this question if I can. Why was Sub-Zero fighting with NetherRealm when he's from Earth, where Scorpion's from? Like, it's,
Yeah, that's what I was wondering
That's
too.
why I bring
He
up the
got-
socio-political commentary that this movie blatantly was putting in
that's
our
what
faces.
I'm saying. Like it just like,
This movie is about the history of Japanese-Chinese political involvement. And if you can't see that, if you can't see past a bunch of Scorpion and Sub-Zero stuff to see the political statement that this movie is making, free Hong Kong, then I'm sorry, I can't help you. This movie's a masterpiece, one of the best political films of all year.
listen. Yeah, listen. I think that's a
I have
kind of
spoken.
an insulting comment towards politicals, because this movie wasn't that good. But I'm so sorry to say this. But listen, it's just, let's go back to the barrier, the wall that Raiden created, right? And also, I describe Raiden as a person that was going through, like, he might have had diabetes. I'm not sure what's going on, but and I can say
Why?
diabetes. This dude looked like he was in the Lord of Thunder. Like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like,
No,
he was
Thor's a Lord of Thunder.
he's the god of thunder. Sorry, the god of thunder, basically, right? And
Yeah.
so the god of thunder looks like that. Like, are you serious? Like, not for nothing. Like, really?
Yeah,
Raiden?
I
Really?
thought it was weird when all the heroes first came together and they were all like a foot taller than Raiden.
Yeah.
I was just kind of
Like, what kind of god is this?
And it was part of it was how he carried himself. Like, he didn't really feel like he had any kind of authority or
Whatsoever.
Like-
Until his eyes
You
lit up.
guys,
I mean,
and not,
and then-
but not even that. Not even that. In this movie, not even this. Check the difference between this movie and the classic movie, where he's sitting in the classic movie on the stairs, and all these bad guys have already attacked Johnny, Sonya, and Liu Kang, and he just looks up, and his thunder comes out of his eyes, and he's like, and everybody like backs up. That's the power of a god thunder. Yo, we can't mess with this guy because he'll zap us all out of here, right?
Yeah, but
And
wasn't that Christopher Lambert who was playing him in the Loud movies, like the Highlander
that's
himself?
That's my point, right?
Christopher Lambert of Greystoke.
Of Greystoke, yeah. But he did good. He did good on that classic movie. Here, and I was kind of like, what? Now, my thing is with this, with the barrier of Raiden, putting the barrier, right? My guy, you was just zapping people in and out, and at the end of the movie, you zap Quan Chi out of the. He's talked too much. Why don't you do that when he came to your house to kill everybody? It makes no sense. Like, the story wasn't well prepared for me. It let so much information out to the point where it's like we have Melina, which is a clone of Kitana, but where was Kitana? Right? They don't show that. That's what the original story is, right? And correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sorry. But then if Liu Kang's there, why don't you put Kitana? They're a love interest, right? She's basically the person that helps Liu Kang find his inner dragon in Mortal Kombat. Also, in the original, this is not a spoiler, guys, because this is all over the video games and comics, but Sub-Zero is not the real person that kills Scorpion's family. It's what's his name? Quan Chi, right? Quan Chi.
Yeah.
He manipulates as Sub-Zero and kills all Scorpion's family, and Scorpion goes after revenge by killing Sub-Zero. So if they would have made the story how it is, like right now, like Sub-Zero is fighting for another realm, they should at least hint that it was Quan Chi, right? Pretending it's Sub-Zero. Do something with that. It kept it as if it was Sub-Zero from the beginning to the end. And I was just like, all right, you guys are not even, how much research you did, like you said in the behind the scenes, how much research did you guys do? And that's really what let me down.
It did feel like it was more about the spectacle of it than it was about like the story of it. Like
Right.
that never seems to be.
Did you want story from a Mortal Kombat movie? Is ultimately what I'm
No, and that's the thing that you kind of have to go into that. Like I wasn't expecting like an amazing story. But like you've got so much lore, you've got so much like history of this game, of all these
Katie, it's a Mortal
characters.
Kombat movie. What did you want from this? I saw a bird chick get cut in half by a hat.
For real though, like I understand. Like I didn't go into it expecting like Nomadland. I'm not expecting that. You know,
this bird chick got cut in half by a hat. It was tight as fuck.
It was cool. It was cool, and
Dude's arms got
wake up for
frozen.
that part.
They fought this chameleon thing that they couldn't see, and so they did something to light it on fire, and then they could see it, and they killed it. This chameleon thing. I don't know what was happening in this movie.
I chameleon thing.
When y'all are talking about this movie and what's happening in it, I don't. That's not the movie I saw. I saw a movie where a bunch of shit was happening, and I was like, this is pretty badass. This movie was exactly what I thought it was. It was lunacy on an amazing scale with ridiculous fights. And I was like, it's a shame Heidi's no longer in the room to see this, because I just saw a bird chick get cut in half by a hat. And where else am I going to see this?
Well, hold on, Jonathan. If your attention span is like that, bro.
It is, and you know that?
That's crazy. And I said I was going to put you on blast. This dude he was there meditating and just jumped on the chick and killed her. That's it. There was nothing interesting about that.
But here's the thing, London. When you watch the Mario Brothers movie, when you watched it, and you know all the different things that you know about the Mario Brothers, and all this shit that they added, all this shit that they messed with. Tell me, apart from the fact that John Leguizamo.
Don't be smirched. The Mario Brothers movie and Bob Hoskins, the incredible Bob Hoskins. If you've read,
that they drank because they could not get through a day of filming.
If you have read the amazing book Console Wars by long Geekscape friend Blake Harris, you will know that Mario Brothers movie was not what it was intended to be. It was originally going to be written by the Richie Rich writers. It was going to be kid oriented. It was going to possibly be starring Tom Hanks or Dustin Hoffman. Japan did not sign off on either of them. After the success of Roger Rabbit, they went with Bob Hoskins, who was not prepared for it. They had a very sound director for the film, but they lost him at the last minute, and Japan selected the music video directors behind Max Headroom to bring an edgy approach to Mario. That was no Mario Brothers movie, and you know that there's a Mario Brothers movie coming from Blue Sky Studios.
This is from someone who owns the movie. I own the movie.
Breathe, Jonathan, breathe.
Katie, do you own the movie, or does the movie own you? Because there's only one good video game movie as far as I'm concerned. There's one video game movie that I like that is the best, and that is this one. The Blue Blur, Sonic the Hedgehog. He's my guy. He's a bunch of mowed lawns so that Jonathan can buy a Sega Genesis and play it. He couldn't even wait till Sonic. Young Jonathan bought it with Altered Beast, and then he spent the rest of his money on Sonic when that came out.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. The comparison that I was saying. And forgive me. Let me just get this out. Sonic was such a good movie, and it was so much fun. It had all the lore built in. It had all those little special. Yes, the ending. I was literally in the theater. It was one of the last times I was in the theater. It was one of the most amazing moments when the ending happened, and we were all just like, ah!
I can't wait. I really can't wait.
That was like okay, great. We can make video game movies, and we can make them fun. Now. Then I take a look at Mario Brothers. I take a look at Mortal Kombat. I'm like, we're just not there yet.
Katie, I saw a bird woman get cut in half with a hat. And I don't know what you want from cinema. I saw a bird woman get cut in half by a hat, and her entrails fell out. It was tight.
My thoughts on it. I really want to get the point across first. In my opinion, at least, I don't really care. As big of a fan as I am, I don't really care if it sticks strictly to the lore. If they want to have creative freedom to craft whatever story they want, then I'm willing to give it a chance. But the thing is, if you're going to break away from the established story, then it needs to be good, because at that point you're unshackling yourselves from the confines of the established storyline. So, if you want to make Sub-Zero from Outworld for some reason or whatever, even the Sonic movie wasn't necessarily faithful to the games one for one, but it was still fun, and they still created something different, but that was still entertaining to watch. But
new and exciting, yeah.
Right, exactly. But then in this case, I feel like once you break away from the established lore, then there's really no excuse to make something that's even more boring or something that makes even less sense than Mortal Kombat, which is a feat in itself because Mortal Kombat barely makes sense as it is.
Yeah,
That's very true.
Pretty much.
So-
And on top of that, I wish we had, because we're talking about Sonic, how amazing it was, right?
Yes, it may be in
But
Sonic 2. We
let's
get to
talk
see a
about-
bird lady
but-
get cut in half by a hat.
Maybe. But let's talk about what happened before Sonic came out with the CGI and the audience had something to say. You get what I'm saying? Like, we're not going to be watching this weak ass Sonic over here, not even looking like a Sonic, with this crazy freaking shoes and all that good stuff. People had something to say, right?
He looked like Where Sonic.
You get what I mean? And now they had to invest so much money to remake it because the fan loved it. You know what I mean? That's what I expected from Mortal Kombat. Please give us a chance to let you know what we like and what don't we like, and then fix it. That's it.
So Josh wrote something on our Facebook group at Geekscape. If you're watching this and you want to be a little bit of a conversation during the week, go to Facebook and join the Geekscape Forever group where we get down on some of these comments throughout the week. And I invited Josh on the show because he had a great comment about the story and why it just didn't work. And I'll admit, as much as that bird lady got cut in half by a hat and I loved it, this movie doesn't necessarily work on a story level. And Fat Alice on YouTube, one of our longtime fans, you know what? You're not a fan with Geekscape. You're one of us. You're a Geekscapist. So, Fat Alice, I know you've been around. Your family. You said it felt like the first 3 episodes of an 8-episode series. And that's a comment that Josh made, that he felt like it was leading into something else that we never got to it. Like you said, it talks about a tournament. We never see the tournament. Josh, elaborate on that, because I think you agree with Leo that the Scorpion and Sub-Zero relationship felt like the best part of the movie. But it was also surrounded by a lot of noise.
Right. Yeah, I think the way I said it on Facebook was something along the lines of, it felt like the end of a movie that we never saw and then the beginning of a movie that never started. And what I mean by that is, like, the whole beginning of the movie, and not even the beginning, like the whole premise of the movie is that when Sub-Zero killed Scorpion hundreds of years ago, which is another weird thing. Like in the games, Sub-Zero is just a regular human. In this, he's like centuries years old, or he's been alive for centuries, or whatever the case is. But regardless, the whole premise is that when he killed Scorpion, he set off this shockwave of events that would lead to like Outworld almost taking over Earth, right? But outside of the first 8 minutes of the movie, we know nothing about Scorpion. We know nothing about Sub-Zero. We know nothing about their conflict. And so the whole premise of, so like the whole foundation of the rest of the movie is built off of something that we know nothing about. And even as someone who's played the games and knows like the gaps to fill, even I was kind of confused as where they were going, because that's when it kind of clashed, because they're expecting me as a fan to be able to fill these gaps, but then later when they change the lore, then it doesn't match with those gaps that I'm filling. You kind of get what I mean? So by the end of the movie, they spent so much time building up this tournament, and then Raiden kind of teleported people into one-on-one scenarios so they would have their one-on-one fights, but that never was officially part of the tournament. So they built up a tournament that essentially never happens, and pretty much all of the bad guys that we see except for Shang Tsung end up getting killed. I mean, they make some offhanded comment implying that they can bring them back, but regardless, it's like half the bad guys are dead without the tournament ever starting. We spent 45-50 minutes of the movie explaining a tournament that never happens, and it all hinged on the backstory of these 2 characters that we know nothing about. And I just kind of feel like if this was the route that they wanted to go, it would have been much better served if they had just done a full-on Scorpion and Sub-Zero prequel movie, which would have set up this movie that could have gotten into the tournament instead of spending so much time establishing Sub-Zero and Scorpion. And even then, they didn't even really establish them properly to begin with.
I thought that was a good idea to have a Scorpion and Sub-Zero prequel movie. And then, Warner Brothers has a bit of a Marvel universe on their hands with bringing in together the Mortal Kombat universe. It kind of lends itself a little bit more to like spin-off movies. You can have a Johnny Cage movie and different things. Fat Alice is back and says, the first half of the movie, I thought it was going to be a sports underdog archetype story. And when it wasn't, I was pretty disappointed. Yeah, you have this whole sequence in the gym. You have this whole sequence about like, I used to fight better. Now I don't. Maybe I have to get it back. This relationship with his daughter, who felt like his little sister, but whatever. I thought it was his little sister, and I thought the other person was a girlfriend. I don't know what was happening. But I liked the character and I liked some of it, but then it starts shifting into like we don't really know what the movie is. But ultimately, I got to see a bird lady get cut in half with a hat.
We're gonna stick with that. We're gonna stick with that.
Honestly, I feel like I'm in the minority. I didn't mind Cole. Like anytime I go online and I see what people say about it, the main complaint I see is that Cole sucked. He was unnecessary. He was boring. And I like kind of what I was saying earlier. I don't mind if you change the story as long as it's good. And I'm not saying Cole was good, but I didn't mind him as much as it seems like a lot of other people did.
No, he was a nice entry into the movie. Like he was he's the person who is your entry to the movie. He has to be a little bit oblivious to this history, and then you discover it through his eyes. I thought he was a good kid, and it was fun. And I the first half of the movie I didn't totally mind it. It does go off the rails, but I do want to ask y'all: will there be a sequel to this movie, and what would you say it should consist of?
A tournament.
I mean, at their minimum, it should absolutely include a tournament. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh man.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I agree. The tournament and an explanation.
Yeah.
That's it. So for me, this is the thing that really got me a little confused, to be honest. Cole's Arcana, which is the dragon symbol that gives them the ability of gaining these powers, was based off his daughter's bracelet. So that's why, I don't know if you guys noticed that, but that's why Cole was a little bit, it bothered me a little bit because when he triggered his Arcana, you see that the bracelet starts bringing all these fabric, metal type things to give him his power.
Right.
What would happen if his daughter never gave him that bracelet? What would happen with his Arcana? He is Scorpion's, descending, right?
Yeah.
But what would happen if he, Sub-Zero was chasing him for like half of the whole movie, that bracelet fell off, then what would happen with his Arcana? What would be his power? I just feel like there's so many characters in Mortal Kombat already. Why keep creating more when it's really unnecessary? Like, you really don't have to.
Playable character, right, Josh? Like Cole was a character in all the games.
Not that I know of.
He was created just for this movie?
I literally shouted at the screen like Goro just got killed by the create a character.
Yeah. Oh my god! This is the first time he has literally a cameo, basically.
And are they even planning on adding him as a playable character?
I don't think so.
To be honest, they might because Mortal Kombat's haven't updated. Yeah, Mortal Kombat's holding a huge update, and so they're saying that he might be a playable character. Mm-hmm. But it's just really think about it, guys. His Arcana, first of all, it's his outfit that absorbs energy, if I'm not mistaken, and he can kind of trigger it to whatever part of his body.
That's the Black Panther's vibranium suit.
That's what I'm saying. It just makes no sense.
Straight from Wakanda.
And he can also create weapons with more of the energy that he gets.
Yeah, you can make sticks out of your arms.
I just don't. It just makes no sense to me as far as okay. I felt like the Arcana, the power that it gives you, it's actually, that was creative. I don't mind that. Yeah, if you're chosen, you might need that superpower to go fight other creatures from other realms. I get it. But now you just what? It's triggered. If I grab this snowball mic, am I going to have an awesome vocal cords in my throat to talk louder for my Arcana? I don't
Let's
get it.
hope not. Let's
no, you're just going to throw a bunch of snowballs. That's all.
Maybe.
Yeah, you'll be like an elf. You'll be like an elf. You can throw snowballs really fast.
Pretty much. But look, the last thing I want to mention before we move on to the next question is, that's what the trailer kind of hint us, that it was going to be a Scorpion versus Sub-Zero story,
right?
And that's what I think that's what we were all expecting, because it was the right move to do. It was the right move just to set us up, or now do a series. You are partnered with HBO, make a series. Again, the Mortal Kombat trilogy was awesome. The one that they created for, Machinima, it was awesome. So now that you know that you can make an hour worth of series episodes, why not build that whole Mortal Kombat world? Because there's multiple worlds in there. You cannot fit that in an hour. Dude, they did Justice League in 4 hours. And Mortal Kombat, for me, the world is even bigger than that. You get what I mean? So
it's not bigger than the DCU.
Jonathan, you can't tell me this because you told me you're not a big fan of Mortal Kombat, so you can't tell me this.
The newest games literally just ended with them going into the second loop around in a multiverse, so they're getting there.
Oh, that's happening. It
Yeah,
sounds
there
like
was on
they're giving themselves like an out of taking the story wherever they want. This story ends with a cliffhanger, a little bit of a like a Marvel-esque tease where it's like, oh, he's going to Hollywood, and you see a Johnny Cage poster. But like, are we actually going to see? Are we going to see a sequel to this movie?
They're trying to set it up to getting a sequel.
Mhm.
I just feel like it could be a little too late. You get what I'm saying? Because also, studios, they depend on numbers,
Revenue.
revenues, statistics, and there's a lot of fans disappointed. There's
So
a
we're
lot of fans disappointed.
not going to see two birds.
This might be, I would say, maybe not, but this might be kind of a situation of the DC universe where they have 15 Batmans, 6 Superman, 17 Jokers, et cetera, just trying to find out who's going to be the right one. This might be a situation.
But Mortal Kombat has gone into dormancy as a property before. It was dormant before DC versus Mortal Kombat brought it back. It was dormant before the Machinima series brought it back for a little bit, and they decided, there's still a fan base here. Let's make a game for it. Like Mortal Kombat, does it feel like it's just going to go back into dormancy a bit, Josh, until something else comes out?
I mean, the games are way too popular at this point for it to go dormant as a franchise, but I think the uphill battle that any movie has to climb is that the most recent Mortal Kombat games have been really revolutionary in storytelling and fighting games, and they're all pretty much movie quality anyway. Mm-hmm. So on top of making a good movie, when it comes to pleasing the fans, you're already competing with the games themselves, which have like multi-game coherent storylines that interweave so many different characters and plot lines and canons at this point, because like I said, the most recent game ended with like the third multiverse essentially is going to be starting with the next game. So the storytelling on the games have gotten to such a level that the movies are going to have a hard time competing with that. And that's within its own franchise, let alone all the other movies that are coming out, on a weekly basis.
I don't think we've thought about that. I mean, I haven't thought about that. The fact that like a big problem that they have in competing with the movie versions is that video games are really taking over as the narrative crux for any kind of property. Like they are kind of the big gorilla now for any narrative property. Is like the video game is kind of more important than the movie at this point. So why would it be so important for the movie to be any good? I mean,
well, for people like us, I think.
I just want to see a lady get cut in half by a hat.
And you know what? You did. You did.
Yeah, no, you did. You
got it.
I went to bed that night pretty satisfied, while over in New York, Leo had to pay a bunch of people back for renting the theater. Leo, did you have to pay everybody back for having rented the theater after you hyped up the Mortal Kombat movie for 3 straight weeks on Facebook?
No, they actually felt bad for me. And they're like, just keep the change.
You dragged them out to a multiplex.
I left the theater. Yeah, I left the theater with like a blanket and a little cup.
Yeah, they were like, Leo, don't walk into traffic.
It was bad. But actually, because of the rental of the theater, a lot of people enjoyed the experience due to the fact that we can rent our own theater. It was maxed for 20. That was the cap because of the COVID. But we all had a good time because since we all knew each other, we can talk and it wouldn't be as annoying as a random person talking. So we can talk and we're like, yo, what the heck happened? Or, whoa, that fatality was awesome. And then when we all saw the pit, everybody's like, oh, it's going to happen. And nothing happened.
I will tell you, this is exactly the kind of movie. As silly as fine as the movie was, watching it in my living room, like this is the movie I wanted to watch with Matt Kelly and Derek and Josh in a theater, yelling at the insanity that this movie was. Yeah, like this is a movie I wanted Katie to be hanging out with me and be like, "What the just happened? What was that?"
Falling asleep in the back. Yeah,
I would have loved to be in a room where I wasn't the only one laughing when Jax had said, I think he told Cole that Johnny Tobias told him he would be here. And I was like, am I the only one who caught that? And my wife's looking at me like I'm an idiot. But it's Eddie Tobias is what he said. Actually. Ed Boon and John Tobias, who are the creators of Mortal Kombat. Like he just threw in some random like comments like Eddie Tobias told me I'd find you here. And I'm like howling by myself while my wife.
That's a deep
that was
cut.
Hilarious. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Mortal Kombat was not a flawless victory, I'm guessing.
No.
It was maybe a toasty, but other than that.
Although I do want to say I appreciated the scene where Liu Kang kept sweep kicking Kano over and over again, and then he tries to jump over it, but he gets the timing off just slightly, and he sweeps him again. And he's like, "Is that the only move you know?" And I was like, "Oh yeah."
I love that. That was actually one of my highlights, just because we all did that playing the video game. We all had to at one point. That was. I did appreciate that part a lot. I really did. It was amazing.
Yeah, there was a lot of fan service. There were shots that were from the fatalities. There was a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, of course. And honestly, I gave it a 4 out of 10, and the reason why I gave it a 4 out of 10 was because of all the fatalities. I even liked the what do you call it? The not the X-ray, but the when Sub-Zero basically built that wall and made a sword out of scorpions. Yeah. I wanted to see more of that, but with all the other character, right? Because that's another big thing of the new video game. They all have their unique powers where they can actually trigger it to do their special ability, I guess. And so I would have loved to see one for, Scorpion. I would like to see Kano's. I would love to see him at least do the flipping thing. That's one of his big. That's what he's known for. And also, Kano was one of my favorite characters in the whole Mortal Kombat.
He was definitely fun, and he leaned into his character, and he was just as annoying as he should be. Like he was a fun character.
When it was time for him to go, though, I was fine with him going.
It was fine.
I was like,
of course,
you chewed on the
but it was fine.
But even him going the way he went can still build. It has an opportunity to still build him up to losing his arcana, losing his power, but having his faith, obviously, with that thing in his eye, he can still, because of the whole, cyborgs, new cyborg and all that stuff, he can still build in a laser eye and still have his power. Like he misses it, So there's still a story that can happen there. But everybody else, I just don't know how we can bring it back.
That's one thing I'm worried about a little bit going forward too, is because there was so much. One of the cool things about Mortal Kombat is there's a subtext of like technology versus magic, where there's certain characters that fight with powers versus like tech. And so when Jax's powers, like his arms are just really shitty until he awakened his arcana, and it was his arcana that gave him the metal arms. Yeah, that kind of disappointed me, because I'm like, now like everything's just wrapped around this idea, the arcana idea, that it's like he can't even have his cool metal arms without it having to have some kind of a magic side to it. So like, going forward, they could do whatever they want if they make another movie, but it would be weird if like Kano all of a sudden had this super high tech thing without his arcana, whereas Jax had to go through the whole movie being completely useless until his arms decided to grow. So
that was weird. I expected him to just have the big arms. If he had these weird skeletal arms.
Yeah, I expected him to probably at least bring in the Cybots. You get what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like bring it in some way, somehow. Like they're trying to convert him into a full Cybot, but they only just got to the point where they made his arm and Sonya came and saved him. You get what I mean? Yeah. Something that makes sense, which is leaving a cliffhanger, right, for the Cybot family to join in the sequel in part 2, and then brings exactly what Josh is saying, the technical versus magic and all that stuff.
Okay.
It was a lot that they skipped.
Katie, I clearly got some experts on the show to talk Mortal Kombat.
Man. Congratulations.
Sufficiently combated out. Like Leo is an expert. We know Josh is an expert because you can listen to Josh regularly on Geekscape Games, and this dude is a total expert, and who's also celebrating the fact that the PS Vita store has not been closed down. So that's good news. I thought of you whenever I saw that. Josh, I was like, congrats, you lived to download weird like games again.
I was about to drop $200 on a PSN card and just go crazy.
Yeah, you don't have to anymore. The PS Vita store is still active, which was some crazy news. Josh, you're the only person I know who owned a PS Vita and continues to play it. That is amazing. You can find out more. You can like explore more of Josh's adventures in video gaming on the Geekscape Games show. It's bi-weekly here on the Geekscape Network. Leo, I like having you on the show, man. I think you're gonna stick around. I think you're gonna be back. All right.
You think so?
Yeah, I like having you on the show, man. You're opinionated. You're a good dude. You know your stuff. You definitely did the 20 years of Mortal Kombat research necessary to talk about stuff like the techno box, whatever the heck that was.
It chose me. Mortal Kombat chose me at this point.
It's his arcana.
Yeah,
There
that's
are
my
kinda-
iconic. Yeah, I have the dragon tattoo.
I was like, wait, do you? Oh, I got
No,
so excited.
but yeah, imagine that'll be awesome, right?
Okay,
we
last
go.
question. Last question before we wrap it up. Jermaine Carson says, "Who would you like to see in the sequel?"
Katana.
Please, thank you.
Her
Please.
fan was in the background at one point. I'm like, why is her fan just sitting
Well,
there?
they're
Where is she?
teasing her. They're teasing her. Like, why are you teasing her main character?
I think that
yeah.
may be the only fan in this movie at this point. After what y'all thought of the film, that may be
You
the
know
only
what?
fan still involved. Yeah.
I would like to see Baraka. I would love to see Baraka and how, because Baraka's, I guess, species is really important also, because that's how Melina was invented. It just makes no sense to me, but I would like to see. I would like to see Baraka for sure.
That's what drove me crazy about Melina getting killed. I'm like, you haven't introduced Baraka or Katana, and she's apparently
she's
dead,
dead already. Like what? It just But yeah, Baraka. That's my answer.
Katie?
I don't know if I'm gonna watch a second one. I barely got through the first one.
Yeah.
Here's the thing though, like the actors, the martial arts were really cool, and like they brought it. They literally brought it, and like I cannot fault them for that. There are some things that I can absolutely fault in the process in terms of the writing. But I don't know. I don't even know if I would watch a second one. I'm not gonna lie.
No, the answer I was looking for was Tails to be in the sequel. And
Spoilers!
Josh
gonna
was
get
kind of
that.
close. Josh
We're
was
gonna
kind
get
of
that.
close.
We're gonna get
I'm
that.
more protective of Sonic's
No, but
Sonic.
Sonic's did us justice. I can't wait for
It
this.
did.
I loved it.
Yeah,
And,
I enjoyed it.
And now the team behind Minions and Despicable Me are in charge of the Mario film, so I'm excited about that one too.
Yeah,
And maybe we're gonna start getting some good video game movies. But as Josh said, like while video games become the dominant entertainment franchise, we'll see how much actual investment they put into making the movies good, because the money's being made in video games. All right, thank you for joining me, y'all. You can find Katie on this show every week. You can also follow her on her socials at
L Sassy Pants. EL Sassy Pants. SIASSYPANTS. Sometimes Z if you're going on TikTok.
Yeah, for that story, you do need to listen to Katie on Geekscape Games, because somebody got herself kicked off of TikTok.
I had to put that Z on there.
Josh has not been kicked off of Geekscape. He just hasn't been in a while, but you can find him online at, where can you find you?
At Inu Joshua across all social and gaming platforms.
Okay. And then Leo, you can find him pretty much on Clubhouse all hours of the day, not being at all productive.
So I guess I don't have to say anything, but thank you.
Where can we find you, brother?
Facebook and Instagram, the same thing. Leo Severino. The only difference is Instagram, you just have to put an underscore in between my first and last name, Leo Severino.
All right. And you can find all of them hanging out in the Geekscape Forever group on Facebook. We're on Geekscape. We're on this. Just search for Geekscape on Twitter and on Instagram, especially on your favorite podcatcher. We got like 12, 13, 14 shows across all sorts of pop culture interests, from music to, I don't know, horror movies to filmmaking. We got it all here at Geekscape, and we're adding shows all the time because Matt Kelly cannot be stopped. That's his Arcana, whatever it's called. I'm Jonathan. This is my little network, and these are my friends, and you're our friends too. Thank you for joining us for Geekscape. We'll see you next week, I think from Austin, my hometown. I wonder what the show is going to be. I have to plan that, but it's been awesome on this one. And so hit that subscribe button and share it with your friends. Leave us that 5-star review, all that stuff. You've heard it before. Do it. Peace, everybody.
All right, Jonathan, I'll see you later. All right,
see you on Clubhouse. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Take care, Katie.
Bye.